I never grew up with that.
Right.
I never grew up with my parents speaking candidly about finances. The only advice I ever got was from my mother is make sure you have your own money. You know, like, don't commingle money all the time, right? And so I was like, all right. And so I make sure I have my own money. Right? But that's the only thing I got was have financial independence, right? But not how do I get
how do you do it? Yeah.
How do I do it?
Hey guys, welcome back. This is our last day here. I don't know when Chala is putting out all these videos, but we are totally ready to finish up everything. But this has been a very energizing summit. I already spoke to Chala and let her know that the other AICPA things I'm going to take her to, it is not this fun. We have a fun person that I met, which we found out we have so much in common. This is Rachael. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself. Thank you for coming with us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. Definitely. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. So I'll start with the professional and then a little bit of the personal. So I am Rachael Gibson. I am the Chief Inclusion and Impact Officer for Crow, large public accounting and consulting firm with 40 plus offices across the U.S. I lead all our DEI work as well as our social impact work. So our Crow Foundation and all the things that we do outside of the walls of Crow to support and care for our communities.
Awesome. I think that's a great job to be working at right now in the society that we're living in. And we need to make this a normal thing. And, you know, bringing our differences, when we bring our differences together, we're able to collaborate. And then on top of that, we find out how much more we have in common.
That's right.
And that's been like kind of the thing here at this summit is it's been energizing as women. We get things done. And that's what one of the things that you're here. How many accountants do you guys have here?
We have about 41, 42 people registered, I think is what we brought. So I think, pretty sure we're the largest group here of all the firms.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what about personal?
Yeah, so personally, I'm from Jamaica, born and raised. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm married. I have 2 teenagers, and I have a pretty busy life. But it's a fulfilling life. So.
Yes. And, you know, as women, we are multitaskers. So there are probably many things that you want to do that you haven't gotten to yet. Because I'm speaking vicariously now there, you know. So fun fact is that Rachael actually knows my father-in-law, who was a teacher in Jamaica, and he taught biology, and she actually knows a lot of students that he had in common, and the students, we just kind of hit it off like in the first 2 seconds of talking, like she's telling me about her, and I started telling her about my father-in-law, who was a teacher in Jamaica. So small world, you know, there's I don't know how many billion people in the world. And within our 5 minutes, we found so many things in common.
Yeah, it happens.
So one of the things that I try to do with our podcast, or all of the things that I'm doing right now, is financial education, financial literacy. It was so surprising. Even Tala was saying that my session that I did yesterday was called Financial Expert to Wealth Architect. And talking to our profession, the finance profession, the CPA profession, about their own money and their own financial journey. We're so busy taking care of everybody else. Do you find that happens at Crow? How do you find that you guys are addressing how your staff is taking care of themselves on the education?
You know, I don't know if we're doing a lot, which is interesting, you know, because I think we do a lot around other aspects of wellness, right? We do a lot around mental health. And of course, we have spectacular benefits to support our physical health. I think there was something that you had mentioned in your session around financial health and the close tie to mental health and physical health and, all of that. And it was I think that's an interesting tie, right? Because we if you're stressed about money and if you're stressed about, right, I live in the DC area, so the government shutdown impacts almost
a lot
everybody.
Of your world.
I mean, my husband works for the federal government,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And I have friends who both parents work for the federal government, right? And so not missing 3 paychecks for so many families have been devastating, right? Yeah. And it's interesting, like you think through what is the mental health repercussions of people not having safety nets when these things happen, right? Yeah. And so I think we think we don't always put it in that context. So that was a really good kind of aha moment around us needing to do a lot more. And I would even say we have a next gen business resource group. And, one of the things I kind of left thinking yesterday was, is there stuff that our next gen, because these are our young people in our firm, right. Is there some programming that we need to be doing around financial health because of how closely it ties?
Yes.
So, I mean, because when I was a young professional, I think like when I had my first child at around 30, I got life insurance.
Yes.
I think that was the extent of financial planning, right?
In case something happens to us, there's money for them.
Right. And so kind of my own, I think through, I kept thinking when I make money, that's when I need to invest in my own, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, I should have been thinking about that when my first job, I was making $30,000 a year in DC.
Yes.
Fresh out of college, right? Like I could have been having these conversations then. And so
that's a long time ago, guys.
That's a long time. So this
30,000 was a lot of money then.
This was this was 25 years ago to let everybody. So
mine was 24,000.
Right.
So that's just
you remember your first pay. You remember your first salary.
Yeah,
I remember that $30,000 like it was nobody's business. But then you think, there are things I could have been doing then, right? And did not do. And so when I think about our firm, our people aren't making $30,000 a year, but whatever they're making, is there more that we can be doing to talk about financial well-being, financial health, and demystifying some of it in the same way that we have done mental health.
Yes, and I think that I was not as surprised because I've lived in the accounting world all of my life. So I have friends that come to me, and because I'm bringing the financial education to the front, they're coming to me and say, Sharon, what do we do here? What do we do here? What should I be teaching our kids? Although these are CPAs that's been doing planning and have been doing everything all this time, we just are not thinking of our own wealth management.
No.
And we're not thinking, like, even if you're dealing with multi-million-dollar clients, you're not thinking, you're like, okay, well, I'm not there.
I'm not there.
Yeah.
Correct.
But you like I've said in my session is everything matters.
Yeah. And it's all perspective, right?
Yeah, so everything matters. So it's everybody's perspective. Yeah. So like you said, a lot of people say when I make money, the $100 is not enough, and all these different things. So
there's always somebody making less than you.
And there's always somebody making more than you.
Right.
So it's kind of, and then you're here, and then lifestyle creep is like, okay, well, when I make money, and then you move up. Yeah. So it's kind of like, so that's my point. Is like everything matters. You start where you're at. And we forget that as the financial architects. So, and then that's the other thing. With my research, and I don't know if you've seen this, because I know you do a lot of, with your work, you see a lot of things, is I find that, I dealt with a little bit of military families in my area, and a lot of the suicide rate when it comes to military, or it comes to other suicide prevention stuff, almost every note that you look at, it has money problems in there. There's a money problem that's affecting the mental and physical health. And if we can help people to be freer from that, be where you're at freer, then it will help with the mental and the physical health. And I don't think that a lot of us think that way.
No. So I have 2 teenagers, 14 and 16, and I am thankful that I live in a school district that actually starts kind of financial education in middle school. So my daughter started hearing about these things in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
And then in 9th grade, there is a finance academy. And I remember I said to my kids, I was like, it's non-negotiable, right? You are going to have to do finance. I think it's like called Introduction to Finance in 9th grade in high school. And so my son did it. He's the older one, loved it. Now he went through the track. Now my daughter is doing it. And I think about the timing of it, because my son, like a lot of teenage boys, loves shoes, right? And when he got
some teenage girls love shoes
so
too.
when he got his first job, lifeguarding, last summer, it was really perfect timing, because he had just finished up this finance class in 9th grade, and that summer going into his first job.
Right.
And when he got his first paycheck, he's like, all right, Mom, I need to, put aside some, I need an IRA. And all of these, like, just kind of so much more educated. And if I had told him the same thing around, which I had, saving and and paying yourself first and all, it would just like go in one ears and out the other, right? But because his teacher, Miss Stroot, kind of gave him these frameworks, right? And gave him the rationale, and it just, it never became a battle. It landed, right? Like I'm like, okay. And so whenever he gets his paycheck, he knows X percent goes into, and now there's so many tools. Like we use Fidelity, and there's the apps, and they have the Fidelity Kids, and he's like, oh, I made 1 cent today, and you know what I mean, like things like that.
But that's so cool.
But it makes it so accessible for young people.
It does,
and it's easy for young people. And so one of the things I've said to my friends is, one, this stuff is not as complicated as we think. And even if it is complicated in your mind, it won't be as complicated in your child's mind.
Right.
You give them an app.
They know what they're doing.
They will help figure it out, right?
Yes.
So don't gatekeep the information from your young people in your lives. Because they're digital natives, and they will.
That's their first language.
They have a way of accessing information, even if you yourself feel insecure about the information, right? And so that's been like the biggest, I think, gift that we've. Right. And I also think, like, when I was growing up, my parents were not transparent about their money.
It was a secret.
You don't talk about money. Like,
you don't talk about money.
None of that. And I'm very transparent. I mean, my child, we just got him his first car, and we sat down. He saw how much we were saving. He saw how he walked into the dealership with us. He saw the negotiation. Right? Like,
that's needed. That's needed. Our parents.
It is. I'm so transparent with.
You have no idea what a gift you're giving him with
my children when it comes to any kind of negotiation. I bring my daughter anything I'm negotiating. If I'm negotiating lawn service, she's hearing. If I'm right, because I think those are the kinds of things. I never grew up with that. I never grew up with my parents speaking candidly about finances. The only advice I ever got was from my mother is make sure you have your own money. Like don't commingle money all the time, right? And so I was like, all right. And so I make sure I have my own money. Right? But that's the only thing I got was have financial independence, right? But not how do I get
how do you do it? Yeah.
How do I do it?
Yeah. And like you said, it is not as complicated as people make it.
It's not.
We gatekeep ourselves.
Correct.
And what I'm gonna push back a little bit on you with it. If you didn't start to talk to your son about finances, which you say we think it goes from one age to another.
Yeah.
I'm always talking to my kids. They think I'm a lecturer. But if they got 5% of what we gave them, we're doing a good job.
True.
So by you putting that in him, he already's like, oh, mom has talked about this. Let me go here. And the open conversation about money, we shouldn't make it as private as it is.
As it is. It's not, it shouldn't be. And the other thing you said in your session yesterday, which is something I've really also taught my children about is, you can save and you can put away, but you can also live and enjoy, right?
Moderation mentality.
Moderation, he's the one out on that lifeguard, on that pool deck in 90-degree weather, hot, telling these little kids, stop running. You know what? If at the end of that, you want to buy some new Jordans, buy your new Jordans, right? Because you also know you have paid yourself, you have put money aside, you have, right?
Yes,
and you also know that money you make in the summer, that's lasting you all year, baby, because I'm not giving you a cent. So you also know, so I think it also teaches some decision making, which is
managing money.
So if I buy the Jordans here, I know I'm getting a car and he's responsible for his gas.
Yes.
Right? So it gives him the tools
he's
around
putting his spending plan together.
Yes. Right? So I'm not going to say and be unrealistic and say all your money needs to go to savings and you do not get to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Absolutely.
Right? And so he's learning some of these decision-making skills that I think is critical in my mind.
And if you can manage a little bit of money, you can manage a lot.
Correct.
If he's learning those skills now, which is so important, most of us here probably didn't learn it ourselves.
We didn't learn it. Yeah. I wasn't working as young as he's working, right? He's getting his first job at 16. I never got my first job. I mean, I had like little Christmas, things here or there, but I wasn't making that kind of money at 16. I didn't really start working until my first job when I went to college. So he's already ahead of me, right? But
different generation.
Different generation. I also grew up in Jamaica. Different lifestyle. Different
and
expectations.
The jobs were not
different expectations. Right. So
I was working as early as these because I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of learned, But the key takeaways, I guess, we're gonna end with is I think it was great to have you. And I'm glad that you got some stuff from my session. My passion is to do that the rest of my life.
Great.
Hopefully I don't go broke doing it. But the key takeaway here is just to open up our minds and start thinking about these things. Like you said with your son, what my whole framework is about moderation mentality, because that's sustainable.
Yeah.
The deprivation or the instant gratification is not sustainable.
Correct. It's not.
So we have to do things that's sustainable. It has to be realistic. With money, it has to be realistic. There are sacrifices and opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So, but you decide which one you want. If you're going to take this opportunity, you have to sacrifice over here. So you make that decision. A lot of the decisions are up to you. So I thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me again. This is great.
And I'm going to come visit you. We're going to be in touch.
Please, anytime.
Yes.